Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 35th episode of Cultist Simulator, the Bright Young Thing Legacy, playing as David Ellison. We had some good luck with painting, so even though we've been running into some problems with staleness, we wound up with a pretty tidy sum. We only needed to sell one of the duplicates. We also got rid of a jumble, but that wasn't really worth anything. And we're sort of back at a point where we can do expeditions. Now, one of the drawbacks is I've been a little careless with the summons. So in the case of the percussagant, sort of we summoned it and then didn't really use it a whole lot. I am lucky in the sense that we can still pursue the expeditions. But yeah, needless to say, I sort of things like the Callagine and all of that. I got a little. I say I got a little careless. I mean, there was a conscious choice made in terms of what my priorities were, and you've noticed I've kind of relaxed a little bit in terms of sending members of the cult, and in fact I've also been resisting the loss of summons, which meant that a few of my more minor figures also sort of wound up inconvenienced. But yeah, I think it's probably not a bad idea to make the most of the percussagant while I have it, and we're at a point now where I have the money for it. So we're going to continue on. In this case, we'll use Key Hunter's Garret. Vienna is one of those few cities which has the same name in every history, although adepts know it as the White City, or perhaps the City of the White. In a snowy street, in a crooked house, in a high and rattling attic, we have learnt that an eccentric hunter of imaginary keys has established a tiny trove of odd books. Now, speaking of odd books, we've got more than enough as far as the texts are concerned. But in this case here, it makes a ton of sense to just keep going on expeditions while I'm able to, and that'll allow me to prioritize in terms of whatever materials I take advantage of. Once in Vienna, we hear that the key hunter has not been seen for many days. A local drunk insists that a great serpent entered the house to devour them. Certainly the house is unlit and boarded up, and there is a reptile house smell. So in this case, we will bring along our knock followers. Enid leads the charge with the percussagant. Now, as far as the other activities, we are bringing up the winter followers, so we don't need to deal with fascination at a future point. We're not taking advantage of the colors of the night because in this case we're just trying to get the staleness away. I'm using the heart, the formula vigilant, because I want to try and generate a vitality, although that will happen after fresh air and exercise anyway. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We should be trying to get another hapless prisoner so that I can take advantage of the spider's door, but at least the curiosities of the light, time alone in a quiet room with a living mind, that's all I need. We've been satisfied for at least the next little run. So yeah, doing some commissions would not be a bad idea, but I have a feeling we're not going to be able to follow up on that for a little while. And then at some point I want to repair the cracked Wildering mirror, but again, I'm in a situation where I've been using the talk verb to get some prisoners for the last little while. As always, though, we'll see what happens as time goes by. I have drunk the light of their mind, it thrills and fills me, the marks brighten in me. Something special. It may provoke a reaction. Alright, 2 funds is not a bad return for something which was designed to get rid of staleness. Unfortunately, the staleness remains. So this does mean we're going to be doing another... this does mean that we're actually going to be doing another commission. So in this case, the secret histories makes as much sense as any. This may be useful for a commission. I should try and summon the Callagine at some point. We are unfortunately going to lose a bunch of our reputation due... Actually, that gives me an even bigger reason to summon the Callagine. We'll wait to clear out the affliction first. But given that we're likely going to want to destroy some evidence, it wouldn't be bad to get a summon on that. Alternatively, I can get one of the moth followers to work on it. But I've been wanting to summon the Callagine anyway, so it's certainly not going to hurt. Some days are better than others. Sometimes the sky is nothing like a filthy sheet. Sometimes the river runs clear. Okay, so this was a kind of a last ditch to see whether or not we could get a vitality, and in this case we ended up with an awareness of appetite. Every sense is heightened, every sensation deepened. The well in the wood is never dry, but it is never clear. One night it might heave with quarreling roots, on another it will pulse with bright moss. On nights of the full moon its waters are choked with the fat dappled bodies of moths. Last night I saw it brimming with dark and viscous blood. Gelatinous shreds drifted on its surface, clots of grail matter. So here, because we've got 47 seconds left, I need to leave the dream slot open. We've got 19 seconds though until we get the vitality. This is actually the first time that our journeys into the Mantis have not resulted in the vitality that we need. Perhaps the Velvet resents us because we were using the study verb anyway. I've neglected my studies, but I stand a little straighter. All I need now is time. Okay, no need to leave the study verb idle. So, are we really on to the next batch of texts already? I am not paying attention. All right, against the sisterhood of the knot and the foulness of their depraved customs, Hieronymus Hypnertomachus, maybe it's I don't know if it's Tomachus or Tomachus. Anyways, wrote this furious screed about the sinister influence of the sisterhood on his own church of the unconquered sun. Lock the study door, the work begins. Should probably be making a stronger effort here. I think we just need to add Neville because we will need the hidden door as well as the younger sister. Hidden door can be handled by Lantern or Nock, so really adding Cat Caro or Neville handles it, but adding Neville means that the younger sister will be taken care of as well. He navigates, now you are the map. He illuminates, you were the darkness. He is not compassionate, you will not show compassion. Our compass is knowledge, and our course is glory. Silent disciple, loyal and quiet as falling snow. Now, what's happened here, because we have upgraded everyone, I suppose except for the seers and the precipient disciple, but in this case we've moved everyone up to a level where I can't really use the influences as an input anymore. And so one consequence of this is going to mean that if I want to try and get rid of negative influences, I'm going to want to do so inside of things such as these rites, usually summoning. Which is fine. That's something that I can still sort of handle. A good example of this would be, let's say I wanted to summon a percussagant. I could take the Sunset Rite, and as long as I have a source of knock elsewhere, I can use the, let's say, fascination as an input, even if the fascination, because in the case of a percussagant, you don't need moth, the fascination isn't really going to hurt. But, needless to say, I've lost a potential source of protection now that I've moved everyone up. But like I said, we've been trying some different things in the run, so I don't feel too bad about that. Now, as far as the talk verb is concerned, we are going to have... Actually, one thing I could do... Yeah, this is going to be mean. Let's arrange a meeting with the adversary. Perhaps we could parlay, or perhaps I could send something to ambush them. I'm not going to send anything to ambush them, but we are going to save ourselves the trouble of the season of suspicion. Or actually, this may result in another hunter on the board. I guess we'll find out in a minute. I finished the manuscript, so when I can, I will have a chat with Dr. Redeem about this job. What we are going to want to do, though, is... Okay, good. Sorry, for some reason I thought I didn't take care of the health. But yeah, so in this case, we are going to bring our passion to try and clear out the health problems. So let's do a painting about my contentment. This should have an impact. Another season of ambitions, so the hapless prisoner is well chosen. And an adversary, someone is meddling. So yes, I believe we will actually have a second investigator to worry about now. We're not going to pay for paints again. We could afford it, but I'm not going to worry about it. And I've kind of been ignoring this, so we got past... Oh, interesting. So we had to get past the younger sister in the first place. Fair enough. Prepared the text for study. The sick room grows close and stale. Time to get up. And this was rash. Perhaps I shouldn't have exposed myself, so... An adversary. There is always someone who doesn't understand or who understands too well. This troublemaker may seek evidence of my activities to share with the authorities. So here we have Inspector Wakefield. Inspector Wakefield's actually a tricky one. So Zachary Wakefield, a melancholy but remorseless inspector of police, has recently been seconded to the Suppression Bureau. So in this case, they're meticulous. This hunter always succeeds at creating evidence from notoriety. They are also grim. Grim hunters cannot be swayed by the allure of the glory, but their own despair may destroy them. So, gives us a reason to level up our winter. Hieronymus claims that the powers served by the Sisterhood of the Knot made an arrangement. The Thunderskin loved the Yew, and the Grail destroyed him. As restitution for the destruction of the Axe's loved ones, Hieronymus's writing becomes... Let's try that again, with the emphasis in the right place. Hieronymus claims that the powers served by the Sisterhood of the Knot made an arrangement. The Thunderskin loved the Yew, and the Grail destroyed him, as restitution for the destruction of the Axe's loved ones. Hieronymus's writing becomes incoherent with rage at this point. Okay, I can't take advantage of the hapless prisoner because we've got a season of ambitions coming up next. However, I can send Saliba out on duties. Before I do that, though, let's turn in a commission. And we'll also get a commission from Poppy. So this will take a little while to set up, but I'm okay with that. We won't go through the spider's door, but I am going to go through the stag door because that might help me with a summon. Stag door is the Adept's Gate. To pass it is to be initiated into the first true mystery of the House of the Sun. The head Gearby weeps to see me enter where it cannot, but it must let me pass. The scarred valves of the door grind open. I received the currency of the secret world, and my patron has let tantalizing information slip. Alright, let's take Saliba and get some... My first time playing the game. Let's get Saliba and grab another prisoner. A sufficiently persuasive disciple can probably lure a susceptible companion back to us. Old and happy far off things, so we're going to want to use that as an input to a painting. My recent work has attracted a couple of callers. With luck, something will sell. Now, we did get rid of the staleness off of that. Good news for me there, and we're just going to throw the notoriety straight back into it. Not really clear what I want to use it for. Maybe I should have waited for the restlessness, but I've only got 20 seconds here. So let's do a painting called I'm So Clever, Erudition. Call upon the beach crow who sees what is lost. We bear a great power of opening. We'll almost certainly find this hidden door. Curiosities of light, time alone in a quiet room with a living mind. That's all I need. So here we'll pay up for the paints. Hopefully that gives us a good return. A half glimpse of wistfulness has touched me. So if I want, I suppose I could just use this in a passion painting if my staleness goes up. If my staleness doesn't go up, we'll just immediately use this in a cash painting. Faint lines in stone, a surface that yields to pressure. We found it. The hidden door moves with a grating shudder and a shower of dust. Hieronymus recovers his composure, eventually, to describe how the Thunderskin entered the manses through the Peacock Door. This, Hieronymus insists, is abomination upon abomination, but then that most abominable of doors has always been an abomination. And we get a Forbidden Epic for it. Alright, We will move on to Matthias and the Amethyst Imago transformation. The diagrams and illustrations, even across the centuries, are elegant, hypnotic, occasionally erotic, in Aramaic. I'm not doing myself any favors by... I guess the Sanskrit wasn't properly lined up, but not really doing myself any favors by having the languages with their associated books close to each other. I've almost grabbed the book multiple times. Lock the study door. The work begins. I have drunk the light of their mind. It thrills and fills me. Marks brighten in me. All right. Let's just let time pass. Let's see what the stag door brings. This is good for Callaghan. The stag door opens. Gearby was weeping again. I scooped up his molten tears in my cupped palm. In the dream, my skin peeled and blistered, but only in the dream. Now, this is probably not helpful because I will be painting again almost immediately. Well, we'll see. Let's go for... Nope, actually I have everything that I need. I'm going to leave the dream slot open for a little bit. Alright, for paint, yes, I do want to do that painting right away. I was thinking of letting it hold for a little while, but... So we've got 52 seconds. We might be able to squeak by... Nope, not with 4.5 seconds. Okay, that's a shame. So either I get hit by the restlessness or I can't summon the Callaghan. I think I will risk using too little forge for the Callaghan. We don't have evidence I need to worry about. I suppose that means that I should go back to the stag door again, though. Can be a little corny about it. So the idea here is that we preserve the timer on the trembling heat while we let the restlessness run down, and then last second we change our mind. We prep the canvas for a forge painting and then switch to restlessness. Alright, treasures lie before us. I'm sorry I haven't been reading the text for this, but it is something that we've seen a couple of times before. For those of you that haven't heard the text related to the serpents, there will be another opportunity in a future episode, unless I happen to win really quickly. And out in the night, my follower is whispering words that sometimes they might mean. Even if their victim knows the words are lies, they may not care. And we won't spend on paints for the same reason as we always do. We're really just trying to escape, or we're just trying, not escape, but we're trying to clear out Sorry, we are trying to clear out the staleness, not make money. I am, Poppy says with a girlish giggle, curious about... Oh, you knew the arts of blood and ice. It's silly, but allow an old woman her whims. Will you help me? So normally I would be doing a commission immediately after, but we will try to summon the Callaghan. We are going to be doing a few more minor commissions, it looks like, so this will be good for more Iron Spintra. Of course, I'm at a point where I don't need to worry so much about money, so it's just nice to have the reserves. Do I want to get another hapless prisoner, or do I want to try something different? So I don't have knock followers to deal with. Yeah, I think we'll just send Saliba out again. A sufficiently persuasive disciple can probably lure a susceptible companion back to us. And ashes above. The room stinks of serpent musk and burnt paper. Someone has comprehensively destroyed all the records they could find. They've even scrubbed the walls clean. Cold ashes choke the fireplace. No trace of the poor soul who rented this place remains. And we have prepared transformation for study. An account of an occult romance. A certain Iavogos claims to have written this in a single night as part of his initiation into the Alpine branch of the House of Leith, that order of immortals who would not pledge themselves to any hour. I think I've mentioned this before, and I don't always go into the lore as much as I would like, but just worth remembering, particularly if you are new to the game and you are interested in the lore. Sometimes there's a few different kind of hooks you can get for at least some of the basics. One of the things is to look for familiar names. The other one that can sometimes be a bit more interesting is to take a look at alternative names for things. So for instance, the Spider's Door is not just called the Spider's Door, it's also called the Serpent's Door, and we got that from another text. And in this case, we've got Dr. Ibn al-Adim. Dr. Ibn al-Adim, called the Alpine, has an interest in overlooked history. He's in Communicano just now, but will be back soon. Now, we don't have the stats on him, but we'll take a minute to review that. But again, just remember here, the room stinks of serpent musk and burnt paper. Someone has comprehensively destroyed all the records they could find. They even scrubbed the walls clean. Cold ashes choke the fireplace. No trace of this poor soul remains. I'm sorry, I've got the wrong text. We're talking about the Alpine branch. An account of an occult romance. A certain Iavogos claims to have written this in a single night as part of his initiation into the Alpine branch of the House of Leith, that order of immortals who would not pledge themselves to any hour. So, if you make the connection in terms of Alpine, so this is the Alpine branch, whereas Dr. Ibn al-Adim is called the Alpine. But what are a few of the things that we know? Well, House of Leith, that order of immortals. So again, a certain state of being, but also who would not pledge themselves to any hour. So we've also identified something of a relationship of this individual to some of the entities that we are maybe not directly transacting with, but certainly are very important to the setting. And one of the things that I tend to find, like this is, I think, one of the really rewarding, one of the most rewarding parts of playing and replaying Cultist Simulator, is that you can reduce the game down to a series of mechanics, right? You can push the cards around on the board, and you can come up with different sort of patterns and where you put everything on the board and such. But because the books go away, one of the best ways, I actually don't play, because I play the game for broadcasting so much, I actually don't play with a notepad beside me, and I think this is definitely translated into me not having sort of the immediate command of some of the lore that I would like. In some cases, just being able to, even just the process of maybe writing the notes or being able to refer back to a few things. This is a wonderful game to play with, just a pad of paper or and a pen. I should actually maybe mention that there is a very nice notebook that Weather Factory sells. I mentioned this because way back when, I think this was after the first stream that I did for them, I got this beautiful pink package, and I opened it up, and it was the Cultist Simulator notebook. This is a gift that they sent to me. I can't even remember if I told that story. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that or not, but I figure the connection with Weather Factory is already there, and it was something, this is years ago now. I appreciated that tremendously. In fact, so much, I feel terrible about this. I still have the packaging, and I have not written in the book. I actually feel a little bad about that, but I also have a lot of notebooks, and what's often happened is the projects that I start them for don't always, sometimes they'll hit a point where they don't, they don't complete, or I'm not interested in sort of pursuing them in quite the same way. And I don't necessarily start a new notebook or that, but there are a few where there's some leftover pages, and I don't quite like the idea of that one falling into the same fate. This is the big challenge, right? Is that if you save it for the quote-unquote perfect project, well, the perfect project's never identified as the perfect project at the start. Maybe it is at the very start, but most of the time, you eventually grow and realize that you're really onto something. And I know I could use it to sort of be my next sort of notebook while I play Cultist Simulator, but I don't know if I'd fill it. Maybe I would do it for the Book of Hours? I'm not sure. And of course, I can always just buy another one if I, I want another one. But in any case, whatever you use the notebook for, it is, if you've not tried it, there can be a lot of fun in playing Cultist Simulator with a notebook. Whether or not that's just to understand how the mechanics of the game work or to make some notes of things that you want to do better in future playthroughs, but particularly if you like the lore, being able to just take down some notes and draw out some relationships, it's a very helpful way of playing the game. I tend to find, I sometimes wonder if what seem like intuitive connections to me are intuitive because I've sort of already made those connections on paper at some point. And even if I don't necessarily play the game that way anymore, that the connections have just sort of been established no matter what. Anyways, in 8.4 seconds, we will follow up on this digression. But we cast Matthias out, and we pronounced a curse upon the Amethyst Imago, but we watched them in dreams. We saw them pledge themselves to the Forge to change themselves and ascend anew. Into the fire they fly. There is a connection, by the way, for Into the Fire They Fly, although I don't believe we have encountered that. Oh, that's going to be a problem in a minute. Let's try the Painted River. Yeah, I probably need to... Sorry, I got too distracted. Into the Fire We Fly, I don't believe we've seen in this playthrough yet. The stag door opens. There is a great chamber in the mantis through which a painted river flows. The vagabond, it is claimed, painted it from memory in the years before she left the house. Certainly there are histories concealed in its design. I traced them with my hand last night. There were fragments of aquamarine paint beneath my nails, flecks of gold leaf when I was done. So, let's take a second here, sort out everything we need. My recent work has gone unnoticed. Nothing has sold. Perhaps the work is its own reward. I hope so. Oh, that's the glimmering. So unlucky. We're in an okay space as far as money is concerned, so I don't need to worry too much yet. But it's always a drag when you use something in the work slot. However, we did get rid of the restlessness, and we have the trembling heat to work with. Now, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Wakefield or the weary detective pick up the investigation. So let's get going on the Callagine. So in this case, we're going to need some, I believe, Winter and Knock. Oh. Bring Violet then. Wait a minute. Okay. I definitely saw this highlighted. We'll bring in the Consent of Wounds. Summon a creature of smoky deception. Forge for the smoky spirit's summoning. Winter for its binding. It must know who will rule it. And we'll do a painting for old and happy far off things. But we don't need to worry about it. It's 30 seconds. We should actually be able to get a... probably be able to get a passion painting. Okay, so we know that we're going to have to destroy some evidence. Again, it says Wakefield is meticulous, so there's no point in hoping otherwise. Ashes above. A single corner of the fire-curled paper has survived the flames. In a shaky hand, it reads, Lady K, Green Chalcedony. 3-lobed spring leaves in... But unexpectedly, in a suitcase beside the flames, a little trove of books survives. Whoever destroyed the Key Hunter's journals saw no need to burn these books. So we have a Greek text, The Serenity of the Black Wood. This should be another Vac text, yes, on the matter and deeds of serpents. We have the irreproachable traditions of the Society of Noble Endeavor. The ciphered journal of Alessandro Lacrosse. So this is the one that goes from Latin to Fucine. So unfortunately, and again, another one that's gonna... All right, you know what? Let's just create maximum confusion for myself. Yeah, that's going to be something that we can send to Oriflammes. All right, we have the money for it, so we are going to just do another expedition right away, in this case to Chateau Riveline. Favorite stories of the Comte de Reveline claim they descended from the first Sun King. Other stories have them prowling the forest in wolf shape. They are long gone. Their rotting chateau remains. Not all of its malignities have been uncovered. This probably means we've got a curse we need to deal with, and because I'm going to preserve the percussagant, we want to throw that in there. And let's add the funds now so we can get a... Oops. We'll add the funds now so we can get a hint on what we have to deal with. The remote and rotting chateau of the Comte de Reveline was looted long ago. We have found hints that it was not looted thoroughly enough. There may be a secret room. Equally, there may be a curse. So that means we're bringing Cat Carol. Dry Soul Curse, and a hidden door, lantern or knock. We've got everything we need. A half-glimpse wistfulness has touched me, so this will be used in a painting when the time comes. Alright, there's the notoriety, so we need to prepare. And we've completed transformation. This is the first of the practices that the Imago and Matthias used to begin their ascent to power. They have risen beyond our sight, but their flames may yet burn in the Mallory. And we get a shaping chant. So we were talking about Dr. Ibn Aladim the Alapine, and there was a few things that were said about some figures that he had potentially had an association with. One of them was immortality. And I know I think I bring this up in, if not every series, then at least one every two. It's just one of these ones. I think it's one of the best examples where I can convey that there's sometimes a little bit more in the game than you first appreciate when you're looking at it. Because very often when you're playing a game like this, you're looking for hints, and hints of the form, let's say something like trying to get past the stag door, right? You can bang your head on it for a while, and if you don't have the lore, it's going to seem like that's impossible to solve. Then you get the right kind of lore, and you realize, oh, okay, no, I get it now. And the text sort of lines up. So sometimes when you solve puzzles that way, there is the tendency to try and look for those kinds of solutions elsewhere. And it's not to suggest here that this is going to identify anything, that will help you win the game, but it does help you understand the world a little bit better. And sometimes there is information conveyed in the absence of certain things. So if we take a look at Count Jannings, we'll notice that he has the mortal trait. If we take a look at my practical disciple, again, the mortal trait. We could also look at Poppy. Poppy is mortal, and incidentally, Poppy cannot teach us a language, as opposed to someone like Count Jannings who can teach us Latin. But what's notable about Dr. Adim is, number one, if we wanted, we could learn Aramaic from him. But they've got the patron and they've got the tutor aspects as well, but they do not have the mortal title. And so whether you identify Dr. Adim's immortality through observing that on his card, or maybe you make an association and you say, okay, I see Alapine, maybe this is in reference to Dr. Adim, this might mean something. Again, there's a few different ways that you can go down and make these connections, and ultimately, when you are looking at propositions, you can say, okay, well, maybe there's a couple of things that don't quite fit for Dr. D. Maybe that connection isn't appropriate. Again, this is one of the drawbacks I run into, is that I can second guess myself a few times. What I tend to like to do is just put out a hypothesis. I'll run with it, see if it goes somewhere interesting. And usually what tends to happen is that I will find a point where it sort of unravels, or where it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and then I sort of abandon it. But I noticed that when I try to be quite conservative, and when I sort of attempt to build this ironclad argument for why the secret histories work a particular way, I don't really get to go anywhere. And so what I tend to like to do is just say, hey, I think it's this thing. And I'll even do this in simple cases. So I spend a lot of time in the Stag Door. And so, there's lots of references to the Vagabond, and I think in some cases I wind up mistaking the Vagabond and the Velvet. I think there's a couple of the Aviform hours where I'll make a mistake. Sister and Witch and Sister, I still can't figure it out. I think Sister and Witch is the heart, or the heart one. I think that's just because, actually I have the painting, so we've got this over here. But yeah, I mean, again, this is where the notebook becomes helpful. And again, you can, usually when you have a notebook and you're drawing things out, you can sort of put different icons or different colors or whatever works for you to just indicate those kinds of uncertainty. But with all of that in mind, especially for those of you looking to dig a little bit deeper inside of the game, and I was delighted, this is a few episodes ago now, but I know someone watching, you may even be watching this episode, so thank you for the opportunity for me to expand on some of the themes of the game. Ask the question about how do you handle dread, and of course, first of all, when you treat dread as something to be gotten rid of, but then you sort of gain enough sophistication with the game that you realize that dread can actually be helpful in terms of, well, in one sense, getting rid of fascination, but also used as an input into different types of rites. In fact, if you're running an edge cult, it can be very helpful for bringing people into the cult. This taps into, I think, one of the themes of the game, which is very interesting, and again, doesn't have as much to do with winning the game so much as appreciating what the game is about and getting a little bit more out of the experience than you would if you're just sort of passively passively engaging. I don't think that you can passively engage, but if you're just sort of passively, moving cards around and trying to get to the end, which is a completely legitimate way to play, but there is so much more to the game that it's almost a shame to just leave that aside. But I am going on at length, and we have finished our episode for tonight, so thank you very much for watching. In the next episode, I will start translating and dealing with some more books, and we will be moving on to a few new expeditions. I think we'll be able to maintain a decent savings war chest to be able to do some more of the vaults. However, we are going to have to make some decisions in terms of what we do with the Suppression Bureau. That, of course, will all be handled in a future episode. Have a lovely evening. Take care.